So when it comes to Phantom Chronomancer, Phantom Chronomancer is the Chronomancer of 2025 that costs 6,000 ACs in the Hero Mod shop in the Hero Mod map. You can also get the calendar version, which costs roughly $20 on the Hero Mod website. That being said, Phantom Chronomancer is pretty much a glorified timekeeper slash time killer. Also, another name for this class is Phantasm Chronomancer. That being said, when it comes to this class pretty much spams your second and third ability to build up stacks of Temper Rift and the Seconds to Midnight for your fourth ability, since that gives the extra buff for yourself and a debuff to the target. Okay, to use this class you need to use 4, 3, 2 times 4 times, just 3, 2 part, and 4, 3, 4, 2, and 4, 5. The reason why I'm using 4 for the additional effect, because the fourth actually gives a extra crit chance, which is really massive for this class, and it does give extra healing over time, which is a new buff recently, and it does give evasion. So the evasion is really strong on this class because this kind of makes this class need 90% evasion, which is absolutely bonkers. Now, this class does have nice debuffs, so you can actually use this class for a team. You can also use it for solo, since it has high debuffs and high evasion. So the 2 ability is your Temper Rift. The 3 ability is your Seconds to Midnight, which buffs your 4th ability for gives you additional effects. And the 1st ability, well, obviously, is your Nuke. The only one catch with your 1st ability, it does give you mana. So if you do run out of mana, just remember to use your 1st ability to kind of like replenish yourself. Although you can actually play 2 modes for this class. You can either play the Temper Rift mode, which you kind of just do the regular combo, so it's 4, 3, 2 times 4, and 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5. Or you can also just do 4 and spam the 3, 2 until your mana depletes, and just remember to kind of buff yourself with your 4th ability for the evasion and the other effects of your 2 and 3. So you can ignore the Tempo Rift for the 1st ability, so you don't have to worry about nuking it to kind of reset your damage. With that mode, you have to use Ravenous or Elysium. Ravenous does make the class go a little more crazy, although it just depends on what type of boss you're fighting. And the normal mode, you have to use Valence, or you can use Ravenous to actually do a lot of damage, but Valence does give more a safer approach because it does buff your evasion, so targets are less likely to actually nuke your ass. Okay, that being said, when it comes to this class is pretty much a all-time, all-rounder good class. Now, the only downside that is this class cannot PvP. It has nice range, but in the sense of actually being really useful, in the sense of nuking a target, it does take some time because you need to kind of buff yourself to actually nuke. Now, to actually get a lot of damage, you need to pay attention for your damage output. If your damage output is low, your nuke will do less damage. And the more damage you do in 10 seconds, the stronger your nuke will be. So also depending on how much damage you do in 10 seconds. So that's just the time frame for using this class. You can spam it, just pay attention for your DPS. Okay, when it actually comes to fights, you can pretty much put this class as a main DPS or a second DPS because it does give great debuffs to the team. So 45% of defense of magical and physical, which is really strong. And if you have another class that just reduces defense, no physical, magical, whatnots, this class is gonna make the boss go crazy. Now, the damage on this class is not that high on the normal basis because when fighting bosses have boss shields and it kind of like makes the class less relevant, but this class does have a lot of spamming, so you can still make use of the team fight quite nicely actually. Now, you can replace this for various Doom Knights, although it's not as strong as various Doom Knight, but it still has the same debuffs for the team. Now, when it comes to solo, you can pretty much solo enter a boss in the game. You have high evasion, so you don't have to worry about getting one shot, worry about hard hitters. The only part you have to worry about is like targets that kind of auto hits, which is pretty much most ultra bosses and pretty much all the newer bosses, depending on what type of boss you're fighting. Because some of the newer sagas does have stronger bosses, but also it's not that relevant for actually auto hitting you. Okay, now you can pretty much do a nice rotation with Ravenous, since the class does a lot of damage and it does buff your overall DPS. Now, just note that if you use Ravenous, it kind of just like feels less damage, but your output will actually still be higher than balance. Now, when it comes to farming, the farming part is kind of good if you use Ravenous. You can also use Elysium if you're running the mana problem, but in the sense of actually being good, you can just nuke and just kind of do more DPS if that type of sense. Now, farming with it, it's kind of slow, but it's kind of good also. Farming wise, it just doesn't have a lot of range. It does have a lot of range, but it doesn't have a lot of targets. So you pretty much targeting only one target. So it kind of gets awkward farming with it. But other than that, it is a nice solid farmer, but not really that useful if you want to look for multiple targets. For PvP, like I said, it is great, but you kind of are stacking up your buffs. You're stacking up yourself, so it's going to take time, and for PvP you want to be quick, so it's not so great. And have a nice day. Cheers, boys and girls! Wait, do girls actually play this game?